Live from the studios of NBC 12 and ABC 25, this is Good Morning Jacksonville at 6:30.
We're going to have down power lines. We're going to have a lot of wind. All of us have to get prepared ourselves. 3 days of water, 3 days of food.
Now at 6:30 a.m., Tropical Storm Hermine is approaching and expected to bring rain, wind, and flooding this afternoon.
We do have team weather coverage getting you ready. Katie Jeffries watching how the storm could impact the roads tonight. Of course, the bridges. Shelby and Lisa looking at how the cities are preparing, especially out west along the Suwannee River Valley.
But we start with meteorologist Mike Prangley and Lindsay Boats tracking Hermine's path.
Well, Lindsay, we finally got a name. It took 2 weeks. It went from Tropical Depression 9 to Hermine. It took, what, 13 days officially? Yeah. And now that Hermine is formed, could become Florida's first hurricane since 2005, and it's a huge system, so we have a long way to go still with this thing.
An 11-year drought.
Can you imagine that? Just, it's never happened before, so it is heading toward the Florida Panhandle, Apalachicola, and here's the key, late tonight. So we are thinking the kids will be safe getting to school, coming home, but things quickly go downhill by late today, overnight, and Friday will be a big issue. In fact, the latest coordinates, 26.4 and 80.6, but here it is, the winds of 60 miles per hour. More importantly, when you were sleeping overnight, thunderstorms firing up over 60,000 feet high. And where are they firing? To the east and southeast. That's the side of the storm we're going to be on. So as we look at our radar here, we're not seeing those severe bands yet. We're seeing some showers around the area. Jacksonville, Duval, St. Augustine take the umbrellas. But as we zoom in, we're starting to see some heavier showers already come up toward Lake Butler. And we're going to watch this area carefully as these pivot off to the north this morning. But I think our better chance of those severe bands, still see them right here in the Gulf of Mexico as Hermine makes a move north-northeast. They'll be impacting our area, especially after 4 o'clock today with an increased tornado threat. And we were talking about the scope and size of this system, Linz. Check it out, over 900 miles wide. So the latest track does have this staying up over south central Georgia, but at this point, we're not focusing on that track, especially as large as this system is, and as it moves on shore toward Apalachicola, coming right through Georgia, through the heart of our Friday, with plenty of big impacts, and you have some of those.
Yeah, and you know, the area that you don't want to be in a system, we've been talking about this morning, is that front right quadrant. So what does that mean? Well, here's the storm here. If it's moving this way, you don't want to be right in this front right about there, and that's exactly where we're going to be. The threat for tornadoes definitely possible below that line right there. We do have some watches and warnings in effect right now. The orange is a tropical storm warning, and that means we could see those tropical storm effects coming in within the next 36 hours, and then a hurricane warning off into the Big Bend area. We're also dealing with a lot of rain. We do have a flash flood watch. It's kind of hard to see the difference between these two colors, but right about here is where that line is, and this area is the flash flood watch. This area is just the flood watch, and I'll try and make those colors a little bit different for you as we head into the next half hour or so. And then those impacts, again, definitely a chance for some isolated tornadoes as we head through the next 36 hours. Wind gusts from 35 to 55 miles per hour. In some spots could be up to 60 miles per hour as we head through the later portions of your Friday. And then tides 1 to 2 feet above average, so localized flooding definitely a possibility with that as well. We'll continue to track this for the next 36 hours until this system is all gone. Let's go to Katie Jeffries in the ViStar Credit Union Traffic Center. Katie, you're getting a lot of questions about bridges, but that's still unknown just yet.
It really is, because you have to wait until the winds reach 40 miles per hour sustained wind speed. So right now, traffic looks pretty nice, but we are going to be watching these bridges as this storm gets closer and closer. That's a decision that'll be made by law enforcement, whether or not those will close. And of course, we'll let you know immediately when we get that information. Wanted to let you know, crash northbound just past State Road 16 here on 95. No lanes there are blocked. Not a bad idea today. Fill up those gas tanks ahead of this storm. Also, if you come across any downed power lines tonight when that bad weather rolls in, be careful. Do not touch it. Call 911 instead. And if you happen to roll into one in your vehicle, don't get out of your vehicle. Call 911. Back to you.
A lot of closures and cancellations across the First Coast right now in preparation ahead of the storm. Probably more coming as well.
That means parents may have to make other plans for their children. All after-school activities are canceled in St. John's, Duval, Putnam, Clay, Union, and Nassau counties today, and JU will close after 3:30 p.m.
And baseball fans, the Suns versus Shuckers game tonight has been postponed due to weather as well. And also, Delta is warning of local delays. Amtrak is suspending its Jacksonville to Miami train today. That should be back on schedule, though, tomorrow, they say.
All of those delays and cancellations, no K through 12 schools have canceled classes today. Katie Jeffries joins us now with what it takes to decide when to actually close. Katie.
We've reached out to several school districts on the First Coast, and they tell me they will not cancel classes just yet. In an email received from Duval County Schools, they informed us that they continue to monitor the storm and they have a plan in place in case there are any school closures that are required. St. John's, Duval, Bradford, and Nassau school officials tell me in case of an emergency, they will be able to send out an automated phone call, emails, as well as text messages to parents. Mayor Lenny Curry says they are expecting a weather update at 2 p.m. today, and that will help them decide if closures are needed for tomorrow.
Thursday seems to be business as usual right now. The information we'll need for Friday are, will the storm continue into Friday morning? And even if the storm has moved on, what kind of impact might there be in terms of flooding, down power lines?
Once again, Jacksonville University has canceled classes after 3:30 p.m. today, and parents, remember to call your child's school. Make sure your emergency contact information is up to date so you can get those alerts when they're sent out. Keitha.
Thanks, Katie. And right now, a hurricane warning is in effect for parts of the Gulf Coast, and residents there are already feeling the impact of this storm. Lewis is live in the newsroom with new pictures of what people are dealing with this morning. Lou.
It's wild stuff, Keitha. People heading to work this morning in for a headache on the roads in that area. So much rain left many of the roads there flooded, turned into rivers, and the worst yet to come, obviously. We've got some video out of St. Petersburg for you showing roads that basically turned to those rivers and streams, cars stranded, and that essentially turned highways into car graveyards of sorts. So rough start there to the morning. That same heavy rain forced some people to evacuate their apartment buildings due to dangerous flooding. Now, this is in the town of Largo, which is just west of Tampa. So already getting some storm surge activity there on all that rain as well. Had 3-foot-high water in some apartments, so folks had to get out of there. And also take a look at this one for you. The water getting so high in some neighborhoods, a man decided to travel through the flooded streets by paddleboard. Not a bad way to travel, I guess. Deputies also said they found a loaded handgun in the middle of the road. Oh, there's that. The rain won't start to come down here at home till later this afternoon. Mike and Lindsay timing that out for us. So remember to download that app, First Coast News app, and tweet us your storm pictures as well. If you're using any social media, Instagram, Twitter, or the Facebook, just use hashtag FCNStorm. We'll funnel it all together to help us all tell that weather story. Keitha?
Now, all morning we've been talking about the possibility of some flooding and power outages with this storm. You're looking now live in Lake City. We're about to show you that, where extra electrical trucks have been brought in to help restore power. After Hermine comes on through, there's a look right there for you. Lots of extra trucks. Florida Power and Light sent out an extra 5,000 workers for the storm. And the company wants us to take precautions now in case we do lose power.
If you're on well water, make sure you're putting some jugs of water or fill up your bathtub to make sure you've got it in case you lose power. If you are dependent upon electrically powered medical devices, make sure you've got a plan right now.
Plan ahead. All right, we got that. Today is sort of your planning day too. You got that time, as we know, overnight tonight and in the morning will be when the worst hits. 6:39 is your time, and exciting news still ahead on Good Morning Jacksonville, bringing March Madness to the River City. How about that? What other games the big city's trying to bring to town now?
Well, we continue to track Tropical Storm Hermine. 51 counties in Florida are under a state of emergency. The latest in just 2 minutes. Your time now is 6:39.
All right, good morning. Tracking Hermine, that could be Florida's first hurricane since 2005. In fact, the wind's okay today. We're going to be okay going to and from school, but a different story. It looks like by late today and especially overnight tonight into Friday morning, the peak of this storm likely in the middle of the night through a good portion of Friday, maybe even until early afternoon. So we are tracking a few heavier showers this morning toward Lake Butler. Here's the concern, though, as we head into late today after 4 o'clock. Notice this big yellow shaded area. These are isolated tornado risks that are going to be increasing through the day. So I've got 4 p.m. today to 2 p.m. Friday. So just a huge area, a long duration, a period where we could see severe weather across the First Coast. So that's the big concern. We will keep you updated. But running errands for most of today, getting to school and work should be okay. Here's the problem. Hermine going over bathwater right now with low wind shear. So this thing will continue to intensify as it heads toward Apalachicola. So check out the latest track. Still looks like we're on the strongest side. So there it is as a Category 1 near Appalachia Bay and Apalachicola as we head into after midnight, then swinging through south central Georgia through the day tomorrow. So tracking the tropics. 60-mile-per-hour winds, Lindsay. And we're concerned here at home because we could have wind gusts that could be just as high, especially by late tonight. And you have some of that timing for us right now.
Yeah, and I do want to mention is you look at the cone that Mike was showing you earlier. That's not where this system, the only places that the system is going to impact. That is the where the center of lowest pressure could be between that cone. We'll see those impacts definitely here on the First Coast, especially when it comes to wind. Heading into early tomorrow morning, 50 miles per hour as we get to closer to 4 o'clock, 46 at Waycross, 46 towards Craig Airport, 41 in St. Augustine, and 46 in Palatka. By the time we make it to about 12:45, we're starting to see the calm out towards Lake City. Now, calm is going to be relative right now because still wind gusts up to 38 miles per hour, but 56 in Waycross and 57 out towards Brunswick. As we go through our rain amounts, 6 to 12 inches right around that Big Bend area. 3 to 6 in the northern portions of our viewing area and 2 to 4 a little bit farther south. So here on the First Coast, we're expecting between about 2 to 6 inches. Columbia County, Alachua County, Bradford and Union counties are under a flash flood watch, and that is because you've already seen a good amount of rain. So flooding definitely a potential there. And then the rest of the First Coast is under just a flood watch. So we'll continue to watch that as we head through the next about 36 hours. Let's go to Katie Jeffries in the VyStar Credit Union Traffic Center looking at the roads this morning. Hey, Katie.
Hey, thank you, Lindsay. So going to worker school this morning, I think you're going to be fine. Even coming home, you should be okay. Right now, a little congestion picking up on I-10. That's to be expected. And on the Buckton Bridge, that's to be expected as well. It's driving overnight when those conditions really start to deteriorate that I'm worried for people who have to be out on the roadways. Really watch out for down power lines and debris. When you talk about whether or not bridges are going to be closed, 40 miles per hour sustained winds. That is the threshold where law enforcement and FDOT start considering whether or not they need to close the bridges. When we get that information, we'll let you know. Another reminder, it is illegal in Florida to be driving with those hazard lights on. Those are only for emergencies when you are over on the sides of the roadway, so don't drive with those on. Back to you, Keitha.
Thanks, Katie. So we're all talking about Hermine, but in the back of a lot of folks' mind is what?
Well, football. It's really kind of in the middle of my mind, if not the front, I'll be honest.
Well, the Navy-Notre Dame game is still 2 months away, but you won't believe how many tickets have already been sold.
And this morning, the experts are weighing in on ways that you can protect your property. We'll show you what businesses here in San Marco are already doing, coming up in about 8 minutes.
Great to be with you, tracking Tropical Storm Hermine right now, but it could be Hurricane Hermine by late tonight before landfall. So what does it mean for us? Let's get right to it. We're in the front right quadrant there. You can see the map, and that's the strongest side of the storm. Okay, so latest futurecast. Here we are. Here's Jacksonville. We're going to see increasing bands of rain and severe weather, it looks like, especially by late this afternoon. So timeline, this is going to be a vicious line moving through, it looks like, between 6 and 8 o'clock and then pivoting offshore. Then we get these breaks. So with these tropical storms, we get this banding feature. So one band after another comes our way. And the big concern is this. We've got a few more bands to get through for our Friday, starting after midnight all the way through at least early Friday afternoon. And I'm expecting tornado watches and warnings to be posted across the area. And that includes Friday here, GMJ, the place to be. We'll have the latest wall-to-wall coverage. There's 8 a.m. as some of these nasty bands come through. Easily wind gusts up over 70 miles per hour and the severe squalls. Sustained winds in Georgia, closer to the storm track here, 35 to 55 miles per hour. Keep in mind, a little farther south, closer to 25 to 45 miles per hour. Duval south into St. John's, Putnam, and Clay County. So a huge storm, Lindsay. We're just starting to see the signs of rain picking up across the area. Big impacts with this, and you have those for us right now.
We're going to be watching for a good amount of severe weather as we head through the overnight hours tonight and into early Friday morning. But I do want to show you this because we've been talking about that front right quadrant. What does that mean? Well, we'll zoom in here and show you exactly where that is. I've kind of drawn it out for you. This is that front right quadrant, and that's where we'll see the chance for those isolated tornadoes as it gets a little bit closer to us. Here is that line right here, and to the south of that is where we're going to be expecting the chance for those isolated tornadoes. Gusty winds, definitely a possibility, taking you through futurecast with these wind gusts. By the time we make it to early tomorrow morning, this is 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, so also likely while you are sleeping. Wind gusts of 50 miles per hour in Lake City, 43 in Brunswick, 46 at Craig Airport, and 46 in Palatka. Starting to calm a little bit from the west by the time we make it through early Friday morning, but still wind gusts near 40 miles per hour in Lake City, 45 at Jacksonville, Craig, and 57 out towards Brunswick, 56 in Waycross. Right now, we do have a tropical storm warning, meaning tropical storm conditions are likely within the next 36 hours. And then we're watching the flooding as well. Flood watch for this dark green area, flash flood watch for those areas that have already been saturated. Taking you past the storm, 85 on Saturday, 85 on Sunday. It looks like Labor Day is going to be the best day to grill out. Now let's get out to Shelby Danielson. She is live in Lake City, Columbia County, which is one of the first areas expected to get hit, and they're one of those areas in that flash flood watch. Good morning, Shelby.
Good morning, Lindsay. The Lake City Police Chief not sugarcoating anything out here. He asks people to actually be prepared to survive on their own for 5 days if necessary. That's what he's telling people, and you can see the county itself is prepared. Hundreds of utility trucks fill the Columbia County fairgrounds out here. These utility trucks come from several agencies across different states here because we've heard Lake City mentioned throughout the morning. They're expected to get hit. 4 years ago, they had record rainfall here. If you take a look at some video from 2012, you can see it really just immobilized the entire city. Homes were flooded. And of course, we want to remind you that it's not just that flooding, as Lindsay mentioned, it's the wind as well. So if you have anything in your yard, you want to make sure to pick it up because once the wind speeds pick up, they can pick those debris ornaments off of your yard, lawn, and throwing them around. Now, to prevent all of the flooding damage from happening again, they've also created more space for a retention pond in Lake City and culverts to help deal with storm drainage. And if you take a look, you can see some of those trees from just a few weeks ago that were uprooted because of the wind here. So wind and rain really expecting to hit Lake City hard, but it looks like they are prepared here. We just hope that everyone out there is prepared as well. Now I'm going to send things over to Katie Jeffries with a look at your morning commute with the storm heading our way.
Thank you, Shelby. We're in the VyStar Credit Union Traffic Center. Overnight tonight, you really need to be careful out there on those roadways. Watch out for downed power lines. And when you talk about bridges, what is going to happen with the bridges? 40 miles per hour sustained winds is where the bridge closure consideration comes in. So we'll keep watching that. And as soon as we get information about those bridges, if there are going to be any closures, we'll let you know. Also, a quick note, is illegal in Florida to drive with your hazard lights on. If you can stay home tonight, not be out on those roadways, that's what I would suggest. And of course, our high bridges like the Dames Point Bridge, we will be watching very, very closely. Out the door this morning, 95 actually looks pretty good. So does I-10. Here, a quick look at all of the 7 bridges around the Jacksonville area. Dames Point Bridge is the highest. Main Street Bridge is the lowest when it is closed. So wind speeds can differ depending on elevation out there. And as soon as we get that information, it's a determination made by law enforcement. We will let you guys know immediately on air, online, on social media as well. I-10 getting out the door, haven't seen any big problems there. Your traffic to and from work or school this morning looks to be fine, and coming home is fine. It's overnight where things are going to get rough on the roads. Back to you, Keitha.
Thanks for that, Katie. And take a look at this map. Now, these are the areas around the First Coast most known to flood. So if you live near any of these pockets, take some extra precautions. And an important reminder, St. John's, Putnam, Bradford, and Flagler counties are all handing out free sandbags in case of flooding. You do have to bring your own shovel, though, and you can find sandbagging information on our website. That's firstcoastnews.com.
So one of the most important things that you can do before a storm, make sure all of your valuables are in a safe place, they're protected.
It's very important. Lisa Robbins is live in San Marco with how to protect your things from water damage.
Hey, Keitha Lou, good morning. Well, here in San Marco, it doesn't take a lot for flooding to become an issue. You know, it doesn't take much water to build up in these storm drains. And once that happens, the water overflows, spills onto the roads, onto the sidewalks, and ultimately into area businesses. You can see Jackrabbits preparing for this storm that's heading our way with these sandbags and also this plastic barrier to prevent the water from seeping inside their business. Now, we caught up with the experts at ServPro of Jacksonville South and Arlington. This is a cleanup and restoration company. They're getting ready for what could be a very busy couple of days, and there's a few things that they want you to keep in mind if you have water damage or flooding problems at your home. First first things first, keep that air conditioning running, keep your house cool, and keep the circulation going. Second thing, get your personal documents, your electronics, computers, get those off the ground. This also makes those areas harder to dry if you leave them there, and can be a prime breeding ground for mold. Last thing, make sure your furniture, if you can get it up on cinder blocks, that's another way that you can try to protect the valuables in your home. And last but not least, the most important thing, before you enter your home or your business, make sure that there's no electrical issues. I want to be careful that you don't slip and fall as well. They say the most important thing is to make sure that the place where you live is safe before you enter. We're live in San Marco this morning. Lisa Robbins, First Coast News.
It's 6:55. Other stories this morning. Hillary Clinton's running mate will not be visiting Jacksonville today or tomorrow because of this storm. Tim Kaine had planned to make a stop here to highlight some of Clinton's vision for America, but once again, the campaign stop was canceled.
And major changes coming for the Wounded Warrior Project. The company now plans to cut nearly 50% of its staff. The new CEO says they are changing the structure of the charity, and the layoffs will be effective immediately.
That's some exciting news for sports fans here in Jacksonville. NCAA March Madness could be coming to the Veterans Memorial Arena. The city also bidding to host other NCAA postseason contests, track, field, golf, fencing. Officials expect to learn the outcome of its bids in December.
All right, folks, if you plan on going to the Navy-Notre Dame game in November, you may want to get your tickets now. More than 50,000 tickets have already been sold, and all of the Cabana suites are sold out. Rick Catlett says he had no idea there would be this much fan excitement so soon. The game is November 5th at Everbank, a week after the Florida-Georgia game. Lots of fun back-to-back.
It's the last preseason game before we get the real football going. Jags play the Falcons in Atlanta. No starters are going to play this evening, so we're going to watch how the second and third string teams can do. We're going to watch some rookie quarterbacks do their thing. Watch all the highlights. First Coast News at 11 o'clock. All right, big story here as we wrap things up and we get close to the Today Show and Good Morning America. The timing with Hermine. I guess today, if you need to run the errands, today's the day to get to the grocery store.
Get them done early.
Right.
That's right. Late today. Okay, things go downhill. And then notice the latest 60-mile-per-hour winds. It looks like 2 a.m. Friday to 2 p.m. Friday would see the highest winds, sustained wind, and possible severe weather that would include some isolated tornadoes. We've got the flooding and, of course, watching the wind gusts.
Yep, absolutely. Some spots up to about 57, 58, maybe even 60 miles per hour once this thing moves through.
Right, and don't focus too much on that track. A huge elongated system over 900 miles wide. So we're in that strong side, that front right side. So keep it here with us on air and online. We're tweeting around the clock.
And Katie will be watching those wind gusts.
We will, definitely, for any type of issues that come up with our bridges. We'll also be watching for down power lines across roads.
All right, be safe out there, folks. We'll see you in half hour.
Half hour. Bye-bye.